10, 9, 8. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. Well, first of all, I have to flip my camera around, so we'll do that. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. I guess I have to hit that one instead. Okay, there you go. And we're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming live at cklu.ca on the internet. You can click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us, or you can download the same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We are also streaming live on facebook.com/Sudbury News everywhere in the entire world except for Sudbury and Canada. Yes, you heard it. Due to government regulations, policies, they prohibit news from being shared, or news is prohibited, I should say, from being shared, put up, posted. Any news organizations not allowed on Facebook in Canada. You can't share local, regional, provincial, national, international news on Facebook, the world's largest social media platform, the only country in the world where that exists. So hey, everyone else except for us can enjoy this program on Facebook. Pretty incredible when you think about it. Tells you a little bit of something. We are live in Sudbury, however, on youtube.com/Sudbury News, and then later found on demand on YouTube, along with x.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator. Thankful that you can be with us today. We're grateful that I can be with you. And remember to like, share, and comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening. And we'll start off with a little bit of weather. We got a couple of cool local headlines. Councillor Bill Leduc in the news because he's been voted off by his peers, a couple of boards in the city. And one would think, could it possibly be due to the fact that he put his hat in the ring to run for mayor? You be the judge. We'll have the Sudbury Star article on that. Sudbury.com also did an article, but I found the Sudbury Star one first, and I figured you can't read two articles from two different news sources. So we're going to go with the Sudbury Star because we know mainstream media gives us all the facts. And so we're going to take all the facts from Sudbury Star. We're grateful for all our local news organizations, by the way, even CBC, CTV, Sudbury Star, Sudbury.com. Grateful for their local reporting. Grateful that, we still have people who could be paid to have a career to actually get stories and dedicate their time to it. I wish that's what I did all day long. That would be my dream job. 24/7. I'd be on this mic 8 hours a day if I could afford to be. And I would be then another 8 hours of investigative journalism, seeking out, researching different stories afterwards for the next day. That's all I would do for 16 hours a day, every day, pretty much. 5 days a week at least. And yeah, that would be a dream job for me. But it's good that we have some still paid journalists. They are mainly paid by our government, which is a conflict of interest. But hey, the government can just change the laws, the conflict of interest laws, and then it's not a conflict of interest anymore, right? If it's a law, it must mean it's true. It's not a conflict of interest anymore if you change the law, which we've had on the show for the last couple of days. And who knows, we might have more on that for our deep dive today. Let's just dive into things. Let's start off with a little bit of weather, and we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently, it is minus 15 degrees out there. It feels like minus 20. So yeah, welcome the very cold morning weather again. We had just a little bit of relief from that. Today it's sunny. Wow. Let me read that again. Today it's sunny. Wow. With some light wind, high of minus 6, wind chill minus 19 in the morning, minus 8 in the afternoon. Tonight, clear. Wind chill minus 10 this evening, minus 22 overnight. So again, cold overnight. Friday, increasing cloudiness. That is what we're more used to. Periods of snow. That's what we're more used to. Near noon, risk of freezing drizzle in the afternoon, amount of 2 centimeters. Yeah, why not? Why not freezing drizzle? Usually the time I'm driving, and that's the time I'm driving. So you got to have some interesting weather, the most dangerous weather, just as the time I'm driving. And I don't drive all that much anymore, but it's pretty targeted. And it's not just because of me. I'm just saying it's just one of those coincidences. Wind becoming, 40 kilometers per hour, then light early in the afternoon. High of minus 4, wind chill minus 22 in the morning, minus 8 in the afternoon. But yet there's a chance of freezing drizzle. How is that even possible? When it's minus 22 in the morning, minus 8 in the afternoon, where does freezing drizzle come into play? But anyways, that's Environment Canada's forecast. You don't have to understand it to read it. And overnight, cloudy, periods of 30% chance of flurries, low of minus 12. That's tomorrow. And then Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud, minus 2. Sunday, cloudy, minus 1. Monday, plus 1. So you'd think the freezing drizzle would be around Monday, but no, it's a 20%, 30% chance of flurries with a high of plus 1. And then Tuesday, plus 1 and cloudy. Wednesday, plus 2 is your high, 30% chance of flurries or rain. Nothing says Sudbury like our weather. And that's brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. All right, welcome back. Thanks for being with us. Grateful to be on this morning with y'all. Let's get some of the comments here. If we can find the icon to click on, the comments on our studio. Broadcasting live from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, on every platform we can think of other than Facebook, again, because it's prohibited to broadcast or stream or share any news of any kind on Facebook. One quick dub. Good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. Belinda, good morning. The light isn't hurting anyone. It's revealing what they have been avoiding. Stay compassionate and stay protected. And I would also say stay informed. So the light isn't hurting anyone. It's revealing what they have been avoiding. So stay compassionate but stay protected. That's right. Be as wise as a serpent, but gentle as a dove is something I've heard before as well. Similar to that. Thanks, Belinda. And good morning, Marianne from Barrie. Thanks for being with us again, all y'all. Bingo, good morning, peoples. I added the S on there. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji. Much needed, much appreciated. Good morning, my fellow Canadians. That is Larry. And Northern Hillbilly, good morning to you. And Marianne says, go figure, censorship at its finest for sure. It's always a theme on the show because we're affected by it. So I can't help but just begin with it every show. I know it becomes monotonous after a while, but I think repetition lets things sink in. Some people might just listen to it in a daze, but then all of a sudden go, huh? Yeah, why is news prohibited on Facebook in Canada? Why is that? Who benefits from that? What could be going on? Yeah, Larry, unless you've been false news, then they'll let you share it. So, no, but even mainstream news isn't allowed on Facebook in Canada, and that's due to people being able to comment on it. Because you can't have anything better than share, a news story that's full of falsehoods by the mainstream media. Let's just say they had a journalist who was an activist. Let's say that was a rare occasion that happened. Let's say there was a climate activist who happened to be a journalist. Let's say just in the rare occasion that takes place. And they were writing an article that was favorable to the climate change oligarchy agenda where people are getting rich off the climate change narrative. And they were sharing science that went along with their views without showing any other views, and they were being biased, let's say. Let's say that happened once out of a million chance in the news. They would share it on social media, but then what would happen? People could comment and share what the journalist could have or should have done in the article, which was sharing other scientific points of view that fly right in the face of that article. And so if enough people read that and say, wait a minute. Yeah, even though it's probably fake, and just the odd chance someone would read something and then they Google it and say, oh, it's been debunked. Okay, I don't need to believe. I just need to believe exactly what this climate activist journalist is saying because that's what I'm used to doing. The odd time someone slips through that paradigm and goes, wait a minute, that actually makes sense what that other person said in the comments. And so the more and more that happens, the less and less you can control people and control what they think or what they believe. And so it's dangerous, which has been labeled dangerous for people to have opinions or to have alternate facts and share sources that of opposing points of view to the widely accepted or the Canadian government approved point of view. That's dangerous. And then we need to change laws to protect you from the dangers of people's opinions. And that's what's been going on. Bill C this, Bill C that. Remember the Dick and Jane books way back in the day? See Dick do this, see Dick do that. It should make a book. Bill sees this, Bill sees that. And then talk about all the things, and dumb it down in a children's book of all the changes they're making. That's a great idea. I'm going to publish a children's book on Canada's changing of the law. Might do well. Bill see this, it'll be called. All right, back to the show. And Denise, a person who hates, distrusts, or dislikes humanity in general is called a misanthrope. misanthropist. A driver by a profound contempt for human nature, behavior, or society. A misanthrope. A misanthrope? Sorry if it's so early in the morning that, words that I've heard here and there, and I understand what you're saying. Like people who hate their own countries, hate their own selves, hate their own culture, hate everything that makes anything. Look at the Super Bowl, and I know it's controversial for a lot of people, but there was a statement being made by the Super Bowl halftime show. There was a statement, and the statement was, "We hate this country." Right? We hate everything that's been this country. This country is now new, and it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to everyone else but you. Everything the United States stand for, gone out the window with the bathwater. And maybe there's some things that should be thrown out of the window. But whatever this is that's saying it's replacing it, like you'd have to question, so what are your intentions? Who are you? What things do you have in mind? What kind of world do you envision this country being? They're just showing a counterculture, and appealing to, I don't know who, mainly left-wing voters. That's pretty much it. And so the right wing has their own Super Bowl show, and either way you look at it, it's very divisional. The country is going to continue to divide. When you see there's a chunk of ice and it starts cracking down the middle, and then they both start flowing ever so, slowly away from each other. Well, that's what's going on in the United States. It's going on in Canada. People are getting divided more and more each and every day. And what kind of voice will be able to unite this division? Like really, when you try having a conversation about it, which I do, it's really hard to share another side that, the other side can appreciate and go, yeah, you're right. But I've seen some glimmers of hope in having certain conversations with certain people. About really, did it have to go that far? Did they have to say that thing? Did they have to poke the bear that way? Couldn't they have been a little bit more respectful? Stuff like that. Anyways, so happy that we have an army of truth tellers, and that's Belinda. And Marianne, yes, critical thinking lacks in this country. Good morning to Homestead Trad Wife. Good morning to you. Larry, Sudbury Star, that still does exist. Yes, it is. Again, media is propped up by your tax dollars. Thankfully, in some ways, so we have some news. Not thankfully enough because they didn't allow the industry to just self-adjust and find new ways to make revenue so that way they can continue to be accountable to the people that are paying for what they're putting out and not being being accountable to the government instead of holding them accountable. So they're accountable to the government instead of holding them accountable because that's where the money is coming from. They're accountable. It's like if a car company, a local car company, Hyundai, is giving the Sudbury Star $25,000 a year in revenue, $100,000 a year in revenue, $250,000, $1 million a year in revenue. And a story comes out about the owner of, I'm just using this as an example. There's nothing that I know about any car dealership in town. Well, I do, but I wouldn't say it on the show. I don't have anything relevant to say about it, but hearsay. So, but a story comes out. Do you think they're going to be chomping at the bit to share a story that's going to somewhat jeopardize their their advertising dollars with the car dealership that's giving them $1 million a year? Well, heck no. They're going to think twice. Why would they bite the hand that feeds them? And now if the government's the one that's paying for all their expenses, paying for their payroll, paying for everything, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to our news industry in Canada, why would they bite the hand that feeds them? When we played the clip where the the news associations are basically saying live in their meetings in front of everyone that we got Mark Carney's back and we know he has ours, out loud. They don't even care anymore. They're that emboldened. They don't care. You know, they got their people. They know there's a certain segment of the Canadian population that just won't ask questions. They'll just listen to whatever they say. Propaganda worked in Germany the same way it's working here. History will repeat itself. If you don't learn from it, it's going to repeat. And that's what's happening. Propaganda affects you. Ask yourself, where do your beliefs come from? Where do your ideas come from? Are they your own? Did you actually really critically think them out to know why you believe what you believe? It's a really good exercise. It's really great to ask yourself these questions, right? Bill LeDuc does oppose the arena, yes. And so we'll get into Bill LeDuc here in our story. Good morning, Evelyn. Let's dive right in. And I just didn't want to leave anyone out for any morning shout-outs. But if I do, for some reason, don't get a chance to say good morning to you, and that may not always be part of the show because news is there's so much news these days. It takes so long to get to all the stories that, you know, it is what it is. I'd love to have a little team of someone who could just bring up relevant comments and relevant questions as we're going along and feed them in. But just as a one-man volunteer show in the morning, it's just so hard to do. But first off, I just want to let everyone know that we have on CKLU, it's our Pledge Week coming up next week. If I haven't said it already, Pledge Week next week starting February 17th. The radio station, which is this one, a listening staple for 42 years. This is also from the Sudbury Star. A listening staple for 42 years depends on the support of generous donors. Pledge Week opens February 17th, as I said. So anything that you're able to do to keep the U in CKLU by helping in any way, shape, form you can, would be much appreciated. And I'm sure there's going to be some special guests here. Let me open this story. We usually do have a special guest joining us here. And so we broadcast in many languages and formats, the spoken word to all genres of music. And so people are invited to donate CKLU so it can continue to bring, trying to read this and switch everything at the same time, to bring diverse programming. The radio station, a listening staple for 42 years, depends on the support of generous donors. Oh my goodness, the page is unresponsive. Look at that. Visit CKLU on our website. Two things of importance will come up on the home page. First is the donate button. Second is the schedule at the top of the home page. Second is the schedule. Oh, again. Schedule at the top of the home page with selection of listening favorites. Added to the regular programming is an array of guest hosts. I wonder if my internet's going to start crashing out. I don't know, because this page is becoming unresponsive. It's just a weird thing. Guests include Paul Lowenberg. He spent a lifetime playing, listening, and preaching music for years. He booked music for the Townhouse, was the artistic director of Northern Lights Festival Boreal for 17 years, and taught music history at Cameron College. I did not know that he did that. I took music history at Cameron College, but it wasn't taught by him. Lowenberg's show, Monster A Go-Go, was a mainstay on CKLU for over 2 decades. Listeners will love to hear him once again during Pledge Week. Okay, get ready for a history lesson on rock and roll, soul, funk, and everything in between. Other guests include the host of Skip the DJ, music station sorry with this pop-up continuing to happen while I'm getting comments up on the screen and reading at the same time. Other guest hosts include popular DJ Skip Vitala, music sensation Steph Paquette. He also ran for the NDP party, was it of Canada, for the federal election here in this area, Nickel Belt. And the comic and creative Bill Sanders, to name a few. Jennifer Holub will be joined by Anita Asama. I should know how to pronounce that name. I do know her. Ansama. Anita, beautiful singer, great voice, wonderful voice. And check out the schedule at cklu.ca for the full roster. So when asked about some of the unique regular shows on CKLU, manager Rob Strawn, good friend of mine, was quick to respond with, "We're the only radio station locally that has a sports talk show. Jackson Lee's a swing and drive home featuring local and pro sports every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. I can't believe this internet or whatever with this page not being able to be displayed. This is bizarre. Beyond the Borders, everyone gets a behind-the-scenes peek at what I go through every day on the show as we're trying to have a show. Beyond the Borders, hosted by, I can't pronounce the name, features many stories and interviews with new Canadians who are new to Sudbury, 7 to 8 p.m. on I don't know which days. But anyways, Bill Crumplin thinks and plays green on his show Earth Tracks, Mondays, 3 to 4 p.m. It's nostalgia time. When Dave Innes, who I do know as well, he's a great guy, Dave Innes, he plays back, bring back the memories, Fridays from 1 p.m. with special tunes from the 1940s to the 1980s, right? Oh my goodness, this is so hard to keep refreshing that page. CKLU is on the air 24/7, available locally on 96.7 FM and streams worldwide, cklu.ca. Added Strawn. It's virtually commercial-free radio, limited to only 4 minutes of ads each hour. And all DJs are volunteers. Community radio offers completely different programming from commercial radio. We encourage everyone to donate a few dollars during Pledge Week. CKLU survives and flourishes through fundraising. Wow. So this, what I'm going through here, will be captured for time and all eternity, at least on YouTube, until, enough people complain on YouTube to have the show canceled for whatever reasons. To show what I go through behind the scenes here, just trying to read a story. So that's that. Let's see if the other website will do the same. Hopefully not. Let's hope not. City Council are moving forward with Sudbury Council has approved funding for 2 community improvement plan projects aimed at supporting the vulnerable. We talk a lot about the vulnerable here. We have Bob Johnson and Tom Price on quite regularly. We've had city councilors on, and a lot of times the subjects are the vulnerable in the city. Even when we don't have those guests on or those co-hosts on, we have discussions about the vulnerable, right? So one is a 135-unit supportive housing complex at 30 St. Anne Road, and an 8-bed live-in youth mental health treatment center on Gary Avenue. The St. Anne project will convert a former nursing residence into housing for people overcoming mental health and addiction crises or fleeing abuse, backed by about $1.53 million in municipal incentives, with no impact on the tax levy. It passed 11-1 with one abstention over transparency concerns. The Gary Avenue project will transform a former school into Compass's new headquarters, including 24/7 step up, step down program for youth with serious mental health challenges, supported by $237,000 in funding, and received unanimous approval. This one received unanimous approval. Now, speaking of unanimous approval or not unanimous approval, one councillor who's been lately known not to unanimously go along with the unanimous approval of initiatives put forward by the city is Bill Leduc, right? So Greater Sudbury City Council has voted to remove Ward 11 Councillor Bill Leduc from Greater Sudbury's Development Corporation and Conservation Sudbury boards, citing poor attendance. So that's going to be interesting when we break down this story. So the reason why he's being outed off of these boards, which they are actually paid for as well, so he's going to lose some income for sitting on these boards, right? So this isn't just making a statement. This is actually going to hurt the income of Bill Leduc. So it was because of attendance. A motion brought forward by councillors Mark Signoretti and Pauline Fortune noted that in 2025, Leduc attended just 2 of 9 Conservation Sudbury meetings, 22%, and 1 of 11 Greater Sudbury Development Corporation meetings, so 9%. Councillors argued that such low participation undermines their fiduciary responsibilities to oversee taxpayer-funded organizations and stay informed on key issues, including controversial planning matters. The resolution passed 10-2, Leduc abstaining due to pecuniary interests and one other councillor also abstaining. Leduc, who recently announced he was running for mayor in the 2026 municipal election, defended his record, saying he stayed informed by reviewing agendas and minutes, and nothing that council is a part-time role, noting that council is a part-time role. He argued there are no bylaws governing attendance for those boards and suggested the timing of the motion was politically motivated, coming shortly after his mayoral announcement. Leduc also said that he was not given the opportunity to speak before the vote. Records show he also missed several regular special closed-door council and finance committee meetings in 2025. The decision adds to a history of controversy surrounding Leduc's time on council. He previously faced 2 integrity commissioner investigations, one resulting in a 30-day pay suspension over comments about staff, and another clearing him of wrongdoing related to high cell phone charges. In 2024, Leduc successfully pushed to terminate the integrity commissioner's contract, first elected in 2018 and re-elected in 2022. Leduc will now continue on council without the 2 external board roles as he prepares for his mayoral campaign. One thing that the ChatGPT version of this did not include was the attendance of the mayor, Paul Lefebvre, who had very poor attendance as well, but nothing like that was addressed. And Councillor Leduc says it seems to be politically motivated, the timing, right, to get in the news. And on Robert Kerwin's Valley East Facebook page, there's tons of conversation going on there. And on Sherry Lynn's Valley East Communities Facebook page, which I think is a closed group at the moment, but may soon go public, there's also a huge conversation about this going on there as well. Tom Price chimes in on the Sudbury Star online, and he says, "Oh my, these councillors are talking about fiduciary duties while supporting the Arena Event Center. And if any of them read this, you're claiming this flies in the face of 130 economist studies on sport venues and 300 on minor league sports venues. They all conclude that these subsidies are not, NOT capital, financially sound and therefore do not represent fiduciary responsible actions," right? So they're saying on one side, good morning, Andrew, thanks for being on. On one side, they're trying to be fiscally responsible with Bill LeDuc and dealing with him, but yet they're pushing forward the arena, which is anything but fiscally responsible, right? All things point to that it's not fiscally responsible. Sure. Will people be happy we have a new arena? Yeah, I guess a lot of people will be. Will it look amazing in downtown as you come over the Paris Street Bridge and you look at a new arena right on the left there? Yes, it will. Will it be a great place for concerts and people to come in and be easy to set up? Will we get certain concerts we may not have gotten before? A few, yes, for sure. Will it be cooler to go to a game inside a new arena than an old one? For sure, 100%. Is it fiscally responsible? No. No, it's not fiscally responsible. It will put our city on the top of the list of the most in-debt cities out of all of Canada. All of Ontario, sorry. Out of all the municipalities in Ontario, and many of them are very much in debt, we will be the most in-debt municipality per citizen, not per taxpayer, per citizen, to the tune of $3,333 per citizen in debt, right? So, wow. You mean my grandchild, who not even a year old yet, is already $3,333 in debt? Yep. Due to the fiscally irresponsible decision to go about building it the way they have. Now, could they have built it a different way? Yes. Could there have been partnerships that were made, private-public partnerships, to not have the taxpayers holding the bill for the arena? Yes, there could have been. Do we have competent people who are making these decisions in charge that are able to pull this kind of a thing off? I'll leave that up to you. For now, we're just steamrolling ahead with something that's fiscally irresponsible, and that's going to become a very big election issue. Just from the three people that I know who are running right now, who you have Bob Johnston, Bill LeDuc, and Paul Lefebvre, that's going to be a huge issue, and it's going to be interesting to see that one in a debate, because you have on one side, you have Bill LeDuc, you have Bob Johnston on one whole polar end. You have Paul Lefebvre on the opposite polar end. And then I think in the middle, you have Bill LeDuc, who you have, and that's just the way it looks. It couldn't be more in favor of Bill LeDuc for running for mayor, in my humble opinion, just because it's the two polar opposites. And then you have someone who can actually who has the experience on council, who's been in the city, who has a record of not being afraid to hold the city accountable in that position. And if he also says there's going to be a third-party audit, well, that's a slam dunk. And so I think they're afraid of that fact, and they're going to do everything they can to, he's a controversial character to begin with, so it won't be hard for them to drum up controversy and paint him in a certain way. And I'm sure they have reporters on their side too in the city that will do that for them, no problem, right? They have relationships with reporters, and so the media in the city can do their job. Now, we don't even have trust in the voting either. So what happens when people vote for mayor? Are they going to trust the elections? Are they going to trust the electronic elections that the first year we used them went down? during the election. I forget how long they were down, but people were voting and the whole system crashed. Right? That was the first year we used it, and that was Mayor Brian Bigger was reelected in that election. So do we even trust the voting system? So I'm going to be reaching out to Miranda Rocca Tricelli and seeing if we can come up with a website and publicize it to no end before the municipal election, a website, because I think she's starting a not-for-profit of citizens trying to, be accountable to citizens and hold the politicians accountable. I think we should come up with where people can vote ahead of time so we can get a sense of where people are at and publicize the living daylights out of it and be as transparent as possible with the voting. You can only vote once. You can only vote from one IP address. You got to have an email, whatever. Some way to know you can only vote once and get a good sense of what people are voting for. So that way, if the city's voting comes out totally opposite of that, you'll know you can smell a rat, right? And that's what needs to happen. We need to have more citizen-led initiatives to keep our politicians accountable. So hopefully, Miranda, if you're listening to the show, you're watching it, you just have someone shares it with you or whatever, reach out to me, and I'd love to work on something like that. We'll get a volunteer who can actually do that and make it happen and make our city accountable. So that way our next election, we can know who we're electing is legitimate and have trust in our electoral system on a municipal level. I'm not sure what we can do on the provincial and federal level, but at least this is our city and we can do what we can to keep it our city. That's all the time we got. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing. We won't be on Facebook here, as you know, because it's prohibited by our federal government. But all the other platforms, we will be tomorrow. And stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. And remember to stay aware, like, share, take care. Ciao for now.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.